Because we have the World Cup coming up so soon, there's a chance that you're missing your Premier League football. Of course, you can still simulate this in FIFA 23, so today I'm giving you 3 save ideas for football clubs in the Premier League that you can rebuild over the next month while you're missing the real life football. I've got 3 really good options here. There's 2 really good teams and 1 that's a bit further down the table, but anyway, let's get started with the best of the lot. And I'm going to recommend that you try and rebuild Liverpool. That's right, they're a really big team, of course. They're the joint best team in the Premier League, in fact. You might think Liverpool would be an easy save, maybe easy to rebuild. However, if you look closer at their squad, you can see that they really do need this rebuild in both defence and in midfield. You've got players like Milner, Henderson and Thiago who are all over 30 years old. In fact, Milner's closer to 40 now, and you can expect their attributes to rapidly decrease over Season 1. Similar can be said for Fabinho, Keita and Oxlade-Chamberlain, who are all almost 30, so they're all on the way down as well. The Reds will need an entire midfield, and that will be needed in the first 3 seasons. So for a team that's so well known for Klopp's high pressing game, they do have this issue of multiple aging, low stamina players in their midfield. I'd highly recommend you sign some players who are better in that kind of system. Players like Jude Bellingham, Nicola Barella or Lorenzo Pellegrini. If you could even sign all 3 of them, they would give you probably the best midfield in the Premier League. Man City might argue that Kevin De Bruyne, Rodri and Bernardo Silva is a better midfield 3, but give it 2 or 3 seasons and I really think that the Liverpool midfield, if you sign those guys, would actually be better, because they've got the combination of height, stamina and strength to dominate any game, while also all having really good technical abilities on the ball. They can dribble, they can pass and they can shoot from distance. You could basically have a team with 3 Gerrards in midfield, and I'm sure any Liverpool fan would love to see this. If you decide to keep Klopp's high pressing tactics, you'll also have to make sure Liverpool can retain some kind of defensive solidity at the back. This can be achieved by making at least one of these 3 midfielders stay back at all times, but against some of the better sides, maybe even look to get 2 or maybe all 3 of them staying back to mark attacking midfielders. Winning the title, of course, is the challenge for Liverpool. You can probably do this without a rebuild, but you'll definitely need to rebuild that midfield if you want to have a go at winning another Champions League. I think if they did manage to win another Champions League, it would solidify Klopp and this generation of Liverpool players as one of the best in their history, even if not all of them would be starters after your rebuild. They're a really big team, they've got a massive budget of course, they've got a bunch of good young players in the squad already. They just need 2 or 3 players in key areas to rebuild that squad. Maybe you could even go for a striker, try and find a Salah replacement, maybe find someone to replace Van Dijk in a couple of years. But basically the entire squad, you can decide where to rebuild, because almost everywhere is in need of at least a tiny bit of it. Fun save, and I do recommend you give Liverpool a go. The second team isn't quite as good as Liverpool, but it's actually their big rivals, Manchester United. This is a fairly obvious one. Everyone knows Manchester United are in a bit of a collapse. They have been for about 10 years. They've got big name players like Ronaldo who are probably going to be leaving if you're watching this video in 2 months' time. But despite this, depending on which Manchester United turn up to the match in real life, you could either be focusing on finishing in the top 4 or trying to finish in 8th place and get into the Conference League. Thankfully for you on FIFA, Manchester United are actually a really good option for career mode fans. They've got a nearly endless transfer budget. I think it's the 2nd largest in the entire league after Manchester City. They've got a massive amount of areas that need to be improved, and the Red Devils are probably actually the best rebuild in any league on the entire game. More players are needed in almost every single position other than probably left back and central attacking midfield. In attacking midfield, you've got Bruno, Rashford and Eriksen who can all be good playmakers while all having different threats and offering different things in your attack. And at left back, you've got Malacia and Shaw who are both decent options, although of course you can probably strengthen there if you don't like either of those 2. Casemiro was a brilliant short-term fix for United in midfield, but I would also recommend you sign a backup for him. In fact, the only players I wouldn't recommend you really strengthen is going to be Rafael Varane and David De Gea in goal. With a first choice striker being the biggest priority, followed by a new right back, it depends on how you want to play with Manchester United. If you're playing a more direct and physical game, then I think Cody Gakpo up front with Anthony and Rashford being supplied by Bruno and Eriksen with Casemiro behind them sounds like it could be a serious FIFA team, especially if you've got Martinez and Varane being 2 of the best centre backs to use on the ball in FIFA. They've got elite pace, they've got really good agility, they're super fun to use, they can win basically any challenge they go in for. The challenge with United is to try and reclaim your throne after you've rebuilt the squad. Try and finally win the Premier League for the first time in around a decade. You're going to need that new striker to replace Ronaldo because it's not looking likely he's going to be there for much longer, so I do think Gakpo is a really good option. It depends on how you want to strengthen the team, but with the amount of money you have, I think Manchester United is probably the best rebuild on the entire game. And the third team we're going to talk about today is again a fairly obvious option. Everton have a squad that features a ton of well-known Premier League players, yet the majority of them are probably underrated to how they perform in real life. After years of going down, players like Alex Iwobi, Conor Cody, James Tarkowski and Gay have helped Everton improve quite a bit this season, and that's what makes them such a good rebuild save. They've got a decent core of players, they just need 2 or 3 big name players or really good young players to develop alongside Everton, and you can have a really good team while you're trying to progress Everton back into the Europa League positions where they always seem to used to be. With their normal 5-4-1 formation, the first area you need to strengthen is at wing-back. In fact, both of their starting options do have really good potential. Mykolenko and Patterson both have potential to reach around 80 to 85 when they get to their peak. He isn't quite at that level just yet. One player that I think you could have a really good look at is Jed Spence at Tottenham Hotspur. He played with James Garner, one of your best young midfielders, while they both played at Nottingham Forest last year. He's not getting very many minutes for Spurs in real life. He has the pace to get up and down just like Everton need, and I think he would be a top option if you can pick him up for about 10 to 15 million pounds in your career mode save. It's not only the wing-backs that are crucial to the 5-4-1 formation. Tarkowski and Cody are both star players, but they're both nearly 30 years old, so you could use a couple of younger centre-back options if you can find them anywhere for cheap in your FIFA Career Mode save. Everton simply need to stay in the league in the first season, so while you're rebuilding, make sure you're getting those wins against other teams that are going to be down there. Make sure you're beating the likes of Forest, Brentford, Bournemouth, Fulham, those teams that seem to always be at the bottom on your FIFA Career Mode save. Just make sure you manage to get the points against them, and eventually you'll progress into the top 15. A couple of good signings later, you'll be in the top 10, and within 4 or so seasons, you'll hopefully be around 8th to 6th, competing for European positions and getting far into the likes of the League Cup and the FA Cup. I think Everton has the potential to be an absolutely amazing rebuild save, so hopefully you decide to give that one a go. If you've got any suggestions for other teams in the Premier League that you think need rebuilding, maybe Nottingham Forest, maybe you want to do something to do with the billionaire that owns Bournemouth, try and rebuild their side with some Russian players, maybe you think Brentford should go full Moneyball, or Brighton, again a very rich team that maybe you implement a new style, let me know in the comments below. I love hearing those kind of things. But thank you all for watching, subscribe if you want to see more like this, hopefully you enjoy your save, let me know how it goes on Discord or on Twitter, and I'll see you soon. Thank you, and goodbye.